Hi, I'm Dr. David Dobson. Welcome to Conversations. Today, my guest is Unoma Azuah. Unoma is an award-winning author and teaches English at Wiregrass Georgia Technical College in Valdosta, Georgia. Her research and activism focus on LGBTI human rights issues. Unoma received her Master of Fine Arts degree from Virginia Commonwealth University and an MA in English from Cleveland State University. Today, we will discuss her published memoir, Embracing My Shadow. It's a pleasure to have you on my show, Unoma.
Thank you so much for having me, David.
Unoma, why did you want to write your memoir?
Um, it was an urgency for me to write my memoir because a lot of Nigerians, well, at that time, I think that notion is slowly but
Hmm,
gradually changing. Have this impression that queer people
hmm,
are Africans, that
hmm,
we acquire it from the West. They
hmm,
have that
hmm,
we don't exist. Some of them feel that we
hmm,
don't exist. I know
hmm.
that in the
Yeah.
90s, a Nigerian politician had
Hmm,
gone to, I think it was New York, and he
hmm,
said that queer people, gay people, homosexuals don't exist in Nigeria.
hmm,
And I was shocked. So that gave me the need or the urgency to tell my story, to
hmm,
let people know that we actually exist
hmm,
and that sexual orientation
hmm.
has nothing to do with location or culture or race,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
human phenomenon,
Yeah.
and to also let people like me know that they are not alone.
Yeah.
And it's for me a way
Yeah.
to make sure that we're not erased.
Yeah. Yeah. So your memoir is a personal story of growing up lesbian in Nigeria. And so when you were writing your memoir, you had to relive painful memories of challenges and struggles you faced growing up uh, as a lesbian in Nigeria. So Inoma, can you share with us a little bit about what was that like, reliving those painful
Yeah,
memories?
yes, very painful memories. In fact, it's like trying to open up the scar of an old wound. So it felt like relieving every of those traumas that I had gone through. And sometimes it got so intense that I had
Mm,
to stop and
mm,
give myself a
mm,
breather.
yeah.
And sometimes I found myself
Mm,
crying
mm,
and then I'll stop. At
mm,
some point, I was discouraged. I
mm,
couldn't just go
mm,
back to it, but I said to
mm,
myself,
mm,
it's good to tell the story to make
mm,
things easier, even if it's
mm,
just one person that had the story,
mm,
it's to make things easier for
mm,
children
mm,
who are me in
mm,
Nigeria,
mm.
apps around the world who get to hear the story.
Yeah. Maybe can you share some of the struggle when you're growing up? What was some of the examples of those struggles so we can
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah. So one of the examples, as early as I think I was 9,
Mm,
I'll go to school
mm,
and my friends will
mm,
talk about their boyfriends,
mm,
and I didn't have any. I didn't feel the need to have any.
mm,
Instead, I'll
mm,
feel fondness or affection for girls.
mm,
So I went home and I told my grandmother,
mm,
grandmother, this is what I'm feeling. Why don't I have a boyfriend?
mm,
Instead,
mm,
all I want is to have a girlfriend.
mm,
And my grandmother said, it's okay. It just means that you're different.
mm,
So my grandmother was one of those that gave me the affirmation that it's okay
mm,
to be different.
mm,
So the pain of it was that I felt isolated. I didn't feel that I
mm,
belonged.
mm,
It got worse when
mm,
I once became a teenager
mm,
because
mm,
I went to a boarding school
mm,
and most of the girls were will talk about their boyfriends, at that
mm, mm,
stage, buddy.
mm,
And I will boldly say that I don't have, and I'd rather have a girlfriend. So
Mm,
they'll look at me strange, So
mm,
that repeat of that
mm,
experience in elementary school came up, but it got worse. It got
mm,
gradually worse because when we have a religious gathering,
mm,
and the pastor will call for
mm,
those who want to give their lives. My
mm,
friends will nudge me,
mm,
hey, you need to be delivered from this demon that is
mm,
haunting you.
mm,
And I'll tell them to leave me alone. But some of
mm,
them will conspire with the pastors and I'll be
mm.
called out.
No.
So just doesn't end there because the
Mm,
pastor will lay his hands on me
mm,
and everybody will cheer.
mm.
I felt like somebody who is guilty of something, or a thief who
Yeah,
was caught
yeah,
and is now being punished. So he'll
yeah,
push me, spit at me,
yeah,
very aggressive,
yeah.
push me. Sometimes I'll fall
Mm,
to cast out the demons. So at the end of it all, I'll be a laughing stock to my
mm,
friends.
mm. Yeah.
They'll laugh and say, you better, repent from your evil life. So that was also traumatic and it made
Mm,
me withdrawn. I even said asking God to please
mm,
save me from this demon.
mm. Yeah, yeah. Now you put it on a display as like you are like some sort of a kind of laughing stock or some sort of object to ridicule. So
Yeah.
that's quite humiliating, when in front of everybody. How was your family support during that time? I know your parents coming from a two different ethnic background in Nigeria. How was their support, you as a lesbian?
Well, my father died when I was only 6, so he was
Okay, okay,
present for
okay.
that part of my life. But
Mm,
my mother got
mm,
concerned
mm,
and said that her wish for me is to get married and give her grandchildren,
mm,
and that I should see if there's a way I can have a change of heart. My mother was a very religious lady too.
mm,
She wasn't as open and as accepting as my grandmother,
mm,
who practiced traditional African religious rites. In fact, it was my grandmother that told me
mm,
that when I was born, I was taken to a priest. There's a
yeah,
tradition in Nigeria
yeah.
where if a born, they take the child to like a priest, a traditional priest
Mm,
or a healer
okay,
to
okay, yeah.
child's destiny.
Mm,
So my grandmother told me that when I was born, this medicine man
mm,
said that when I grow up, I'll not be like everybody else, that I won't have children and I won't have a husband.
mm,
So she said my mother started offering sacrifices to the gods to change that destiny. And she told her not to bother, but my mother kept trying. So for me to have grown up and told my mother, well, I don't
mm,
man, was
mm,
she was very disappointed because she thought she had conquered that challenge because she did
mm,
everything,
mm,
prayers, sacrifices to the God,
mm,
whatever it took,
mm,
but that didn't work. So
mm,
she wasn't supportive, but she wasn't necessarily hostile. She was just
mm,
sad about it.
yeah, yeah. So, did you ever feel like giving up on writing a memoir? Like because at that time, all those stories, you felt overwhelmed.
Yeah. As a college student, I was scared for myself.
Mm,
And I wasn't talking about my sexual orientation because
mm,
when I compare high school, which
mm,
was a boarding school,
mm,
it was like a cocoon, a
mm,
very small world. But when I got to college, it was this bigger, wider world. I spoke less about my sexuality and practically went back into the
mm,
closet.
yeah.
And I even went as far as dating men because my friends would say, oh, come on, you haven't even tried a man, and there you are calling yourself a lesbian.
Mm,
So I'll date a guy and I'll come back and tell them, oh, it didn't work. They'll say, just one, keep trying. So I went through this painful stage of my life trying to do what I didn't really like just to
mm,
fulfill my friends'
mm,
dreams for me or my friends' aspirations for me. So I went back in the closet, dated guys, and intimacy was something else. Because when it got to, the kissing and I'll push away, and of course, the relationship won't last. So when I left college, I knew that I wouldn't be able to continue that because my mother also did not stop. My mother found a pastor who said he can deliver me. And that was another traumatic experience because it was in the middle of the night that this pastor took me down to the River Niger, just the two of us. And we started with prayer sessions in his altar, what he called the altar. And he now took me down to the river and immersed me in the river, and I was terrified. I was very cold. All I could hear were chirping insects and things wriggling in the river. And I said, oh my God, what if I get bitten by a snake? I endured it just to prove to my mother that, I've tried. But it just didn't end there. After that session in the river, the pastor took me back to his altar and continued the prayers. And what terrified me was that as he was praying, he told me to lie down and remove my clothes. So I got worried. I said, what has removing my clothes got to do with praying for me? So I said, no, I will not remove my clothes. But I realized I was in danger when he turned around to face me. He had a bulge. So I didn't know what to do. I looked around to see if there's a tool. I got into the survival mode to defend myself because there was something very unusual about the whole thing. So when he now bent down to get a Bible, I got up and jumped. There was a window beside me, and I ran. I ran with all the energy in me, and I ran home. And I told my mother what happened. Of course, the pastor denied it. That is part of my resistance not to be delivered. I told my mother, no, that man wanted to do something horrible to me. I would not go back there. My mother insisted, so I had to leave. I had to leave home. So there are cases of where pastors rape lesbians as a way to deliver them from that. But I just did not want to be one of those. Unfortunately, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry you went through this so traumatic, listening to them make me so upsetting, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Unoma.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Unoma, what kept you going as you're writing this? You're reliving those memories and writing it. So what kept you going?
Yeah, what kept me going was the reassurance and the love I got from my grandmother. It was only my grandmother that gave that space, to own myself. And I even found acceptance by her revelation that, that's actually who I am. So she kept me going. And then when I graduated from college and went to Lagos, I met a lot of lesbians like me, but they were in the closet. And there was an article, a newspaper article that attacked homosexuals in Lagos then. And I said, oh my God, I can't. It reminded me of what the minister said, that we don't exist. And I said to myself, this is repeating itself. If I keep hiding in the closet, if I keep helping homophobic people to erase myself, at the end of the day, I may just be eliminated. So I responded to the newspaper article and wrote about Nigerian lesbians or queer Nigerians who write about queer themes. I found them when I attended a workshop organized by British Council then in Ibadan. So I wrote about writing. I was not expecting what happened after that. When that was published in Lagos, Lagos is the biggest city in Nigeria. People started writing me hate mail. Then we didn't have email. How will they know my address? Second, even people around me who I considered friends will insult me and tell me I'm a disgrace. You know, your mother gave birth to you. Why would you claim to be this evil thing? And it became really scary. It was almost as if I should go back into the closet. But what I started doing was I started keeping away from hostile people. But it actually got worse because I was now physically attacked in Lagos. So I had to reach out to some of my friends to help me leave because people kept telling me, you're so daring. Nobody has ever done this. You want to destroy the traditional foundation of the Nigerian family structure. You know, you're evil. You're not meant to be. It just got so overwhelming that I had to think of a way to escape all that hostility, because at that point I became afraid of my life.
Yeah. So, Unoma, what do you hope the reader takes away from your book? I hope more people read your book, and so they got to really see all your struggles and all your stories and your hope. Uh, so, what do you hope the reader take away from your book?
I'm hoping when the book was released, a number of people reached out to me, you know, to say thank you, that I didn't know that people like me who are vocal. And it was so fulfilling. You know, of course, it's one thing to be happy that somebody has read your book and identifies with your story.
Yeah.
Another to ask, well, how are you responding to it? And I say, how are you responding to it? Because visibility helps. But of course, everybody can be out because of the danger. In fact, Nigeria has a rule, the anti-LGBT rule, that sentences homosexual to 14 years imprisonment, you know, and I think they have lesser jail terms depending on what you're doing in public. They call it public display of emotion of same sex. So if you're out in public, you're two women or two men, and you're being affectionate towards each other, you'll be jailed. I think that jail term is 5 years, which is ridiculous because I could be with my sister and, you know, be affectionate with my sister. How do you know? How do you know that we're homosexuals? It's silly. And then again, what adults do in the privacy of their home, how does it affect the price of food in Nigeria, for instance? So part of the ugliness of what I call dirty politics is when politicians are embezzling money and the economy is not doing well, they use homosexuals as scapegoat to distract people from the real danger. So I'm hoping that when people read my story, that they'll be able to, excuse me, in their own little way, make, even if it's their closest friend or their mother, know that they're different, so that we can gradually create an allyship, or we can gradually let parents and aunties and uncles know that gay children can be found anywhere. Your sister could be, your auntie could be, to remind them that these people are human beings. Let them know that the greatest part of every one of us is our humanity. So that is the hope I have for the book. And so far, I'm happy I wrote the book because I feel healed. It was a kind of therapy when I was writing it. I feel healed. I feel better that a couple of people have reached out to say, hey, thank you. When I read your story, it felt like it was my story and I don't feel alone anymore. So I'm hoping that it opens up spaces for conversations and reach policymakers who are anti-LGBT, to make them have a rethink and to make them go beyond, if possible, for those who are our allies, move beyond empathy to action, to actually doing something. That is my hope.
And then you came to US from Nigeria.
Yes, I had to leave Nigeria because of the hostility. Like I said, when I got attacked, I got alarmed and worried and I had to leave. I came to
Mm.
the US in 1999.
Okay.
Lucky I got a scholarship. A friend of
Mm.
mine who is an LGBT activist as well, she's an attorney, Leslie Hoff,
Mm. Mm.
helped me a lot because she was the one that contacted Human Rights
Mm.
and was to work on getting me a scholarship
Mm.
to come to the US
Mm.
in 1919. That sounds like millions of years ago.
I know. But sometimes it just feel like just it happened yesterday.
Yeah, it feels fresh.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
Yeah.
homophobia to be thriving, but
Yeah.
I feel that media is exposing,
Mm.
um, sharing is a big brother platform
Mm.
to share stories like that people may not know ordinarily. So it's helping because I
Mm.
see a lot of young LGBT Africans, coming onto social media
Mm.
with the boldness and courage to talk about themselves. So things are looking up. It's been decades, but I think that things are looking up, even though it's slow, but it's better slow than not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, Anoma, you are a prolific author. You have written so many books and poems and stories. In your other books, I was going through your some other books like Edible Bones and Length of the Light, the short stories. You describe the lives of struggling Nigerian immigrants who come to realize that life in America was far from what they had imagined. And I was wondering, do you see yourself in the characters of those books? I think Kyoto and Soka is one of the characters, two of the characters you describe in your book.
Yes. So in Edible Bones, the major character is
Soka?
I've forgotten
Soka?
yeah, the character. Yeah, so he came to the US, when I was in Nigeria, and I think it still happens now.
Okay.
Um, the American media is so full of grandeur,
Glamorous.
talk Hollywood. Yes. So most of us see huge, glamorous
Yeah.
place that all
Yeah.
God's own country,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the impression we have,
Yeah.
Christmas in snow, this life that is as if you're living in heaven.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
aspires to be part of that life. And I was also one of those who had the aspiration to be in the US. Of course, the US is a great country,
Yeah.
but the the impression we have of it and of the
Yeah.
West is that the pain of life goes away. No, it doesn't. No matter where you are, as a human, you still go through the same human pain.
Mm.
So it was a cultural shock for me to, first of all,
Mm.
realize that for you to create a community, you need to
Mm.
know the people already. And
Yeah.
from my experience, the people I met had already formed their own
Mm.
niches.
Mm.
And there was really no space for me to
Mm.
immerse or insert myself.
Mm.
So that created its own form of isolation.
Mm.
I also realized that it's not all of America that is queer or gay friendly. In the
Mm.
South, for
Mm.
example, the
Mm.
Bible
Mm.
is not. So all that were realizations that hit me almost to the point of being shocked. But it taught me that no matter where you are, you always meet a variety of people. Some may
Mm.
be accepted and some may not be. And it's okay, But in the context of Nigerians coming to the US, my experience was a cultural shock of
Mm.
I am friendly and saying, hey, hello to everybody. And people are looking at you like, what? Oh, in
Yeah,
Nigeria,
yeah,
everybody
yeah, yeah.
even pause to say, did you sleep well? How are the children? And I tried to do that in America. And oh my God,
Who's this woman? What's the problem?
exactly. A woman that's always waiting long to change and, let the culture and try to blend in. That was
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is that no, you don't just come to America and get all the money you want. You have to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
work as
Yeah.
hard as you
Yeah.
never have thought
Mm.
about. And I was like, oh, so where's all the money? Everybody was talking about that. Almost like you can go to trees and farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that mindset, I met some Nigerians who got trapped into the illusion of,
Yeah.
oh, the American dream, and it wasn't quite as they expected. So one of the
Mm.
problems that they couldn't find scholarship to
Mm. Oh
education
yeah.
for,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
they had to drop school to work.
Yeah.
But dropping out of school with no health insurance, with the
Yeah.
cold,
Yeah.
some of them sick.
Yeah.
When they get sick, they can't go to the hospital, and people at home are expecting, then now, why don't you send us money?
Yeah.
There are
It
people
is.
who are
Yeah.
there who have come to build
Yeah.
mansions. What
Yeah.
with you?
Yeah.
So lack of that knowledge of the reality of living in the West hit some of us.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had a
Yeah.
route where
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
consist
Yeah.
stability of thoughts,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, I interviewed one person. She said even though she was in a scholarship, her family expected to send her scholarship and money to her home, and she has so much to struggle to because she has no other money. That's the only money she gets scholarship, but she has to pay for school and tuition and also send money to home. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So that's the part
yeah,
of our reality that
yeah,
people do not
yeah,
understand,
yeah,
not understand it
yeah,
until they experience it
yeah,
themselves.
yeah. Unoma, I want to ask you, can you share your own experience of being a black sexual minority woman in America?
Ah, I just feel the burden just mentioning it.
Mm,
Well, I don't know if I should say fortunately or unfortunately, I am at the intersections of many of what may be seen or what is actually seen as the other. One, I'm a woman. Two, I'm an African. Three, I'm an immigrant. Four, I'm a lesbian. You know, so all that lined up in one, packed up in one person is a lot. And
mhm,
almost in every step, I could feel the heat, the burden of being different, of being other. So some would judge you, some would deny you of what you deserve because there's a doubt about your ability to do what others can do. And you're placed in the margin where you may not necessarily be able to perform at your utmost best. But the advantage to me is that it teaches you to learn quick, and it teaches you to work 4 or 5 times as harder as a regular American,
mhm,
so that you will be quick to survive, you'll be quick to adjust, you'll be even more creative because you have to find ways to, maneuver, your survival basically. So it has its good sides and it has its bad sides. But that burden can be crushing for some people. That I'm surviving it or that I survived it doesn't mean that it's easy or that everybody can survive it. But that's my reality, and I've learned to take it one day at a time. And so far, so good.
mhm. Wonderful. What's next for you, Unoma?
I've continued my activism by writing. No, so what I now try to do is to collect stories from LGBT people across Africa.
Mhm,
I've done a couple of projects with Gala, Gay and Lesbian Alliance, based in South Africa. They're doing a wonderful project of creating volumes of stories of queer lives and queer activists. So I'm honored and grateful to be part of that project. The next project I'm doing is to actually take a book that has a collection of stories from across West Africa
mhm.
of queer life. So I want to take it to the grassroots, share the stories with them, and see how we can open up or how we can continue the conversation, about love instead of hate, about acceptance, and about creating more spaces and kindness, just a way to seek audience, a way to have people listen, a way to dialogue, a way to continue the conversation for a better world for everybody.
Yeah.
Because, being marginalized is not the best. If people can accept each other for who they are and accept the fact that, come to think of it, if we're all the same, life would be a boring place.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Unoma, for sharing your story and a word of encouragement. And I want to wish you all the best, all the amazing work you're doing and your project.
Yeah, David, thank you so much for giving me this platform to talk about my project and the story. I appreciate what you give to people, giving them a voice, giving them that opportunity to share and to spread whatever messages they will have. So thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing and I'm grateful. Thank you so much.